Good morning and welcome to the Enshine Learning Academy webinar this morning. It is absolutely fantastic, as always, to be here in the room with you, and I cannot wait to get started. But before we do, let's just make sure that you can hear me and you can see me. So pop a note into the chat box, say hello, let us know where you're dialing in from, and just let me know that you can see and hear me, and then we'll get started with today's session. Hi, Hella. Good to see you. Hella, all the way from a very windy Somerset West. Hella, it's been a while. Good to see you on the call this morning. So let's see those comments coming in. And the fact that I'm not seeing comments coming in, I'm wondering whether you can hear me. So pop a note into the chat box. Let me know that you can hear and see me, and then we'll be good to go. Oh, there we go. Hi, Monique from Caterage. You can hear and see me clearly. That is beautiful. Thanks, Monique. Good morning, Marsha from Pretoria. Good to have you in the room today. Felisa from Cape Town. Excellent. We've got Vicky from Durban, Shanae, Varasha, Aziza. Aziza from Durban. Nice to see you in the room, Aziza. Cheyenne Santkumar. I hope I'm saying your name correctly. Welcome, Cheyenne, and Marsha, and Audra, and Sean, Roxanne. Excellent to see you. Thanks for joining us this morning. Prabhashni, Justine, Shiham, Fariel, Patrice, I want to say hello to all of you, Rahan, Rihasha, Kaylee, and we're going to just keep going. So pop those comments into the chat box. I will pick up and hopefully pick up on your name and your comments as we go through the session this morning, but it is absolutely wonderful to be here in the room with you today. So thank you all for joining me. We're going to dive right in. We're together this morning for about an hour or so, and let's see how that time goes. And let's just make the most of it. Time is so precious. Time is invaluable. And when we have time together, let's just get stuck right in, dive right in, and make the the best use of that time. So today we're meeting, and we're really what's prompted today's session was the fact that yesterday was International Women's Day. And when we look at International Women's Day, we start to look at what is the impact that we've created in this world, where are we going, where we come from, what are we doing from a woman empowerment, woman leadership development perspective. How can we start to make a greater impact? How can we start to balance the scales? How can we start to shift the imbalance that we're experiencing, not just in the workplace, but in various spheres of life, in politics, really in leadership positions that we're seeing all around us. But today's session is not just about how do we shift the stats from a woman empowerment perspective. It's not just about how do we balance the scales from a leadership perspective. It really is about what are you doing to balance the scales in your own life? What are you doing to really push yourself to the next level? Because as you'll see, when we push ourselves to the next level, that is the only time that we're able to take others along the journey with us. So if you're not pushing yourself, if you're not chasing new heights, if you're not really picking up the pace in your own life, in your own success journey, in your own careers, then it's impossible to contribute to balancing the scales elsewhere. It's impossible to contribute to seeing a shift in other areas that are equally important. So we always say change starts with you, impact starts with you, influence starts with you. And today's session is about you. It's about you and how can you contribute to really making a difference out there. But since we're meeting here in honor of International Women's Day, let me throw a couple of stats your way. So here's the first stat. This is 3.3%. 3.3% is the number of JSE listed companies that have women CEOs. So 3.3% of JSE listed companies are led by women. The CEOs are women. Of our JSE listed companies, 12.8% are CFOs. So, I mean, we've got women entering the workforce in drones. We've got really equal numbers of women and men entering the workforce each year. And some years you might see that there are more women than men. In other years, slightly more men than women. But the fact is that we've got entering the workforce, almost equal numbers of men and women. And we've got to start asking ourselves, why then are we seeing stats like 3.3% and 12.8% in CEO and CFO positions on JSE listed companies? Another interesting stat is 8.1%. This is the percentage of executive directors. So the number of women that are employed in companies that are sitting around the boardroom table, that are holding their own around the boardroom table. That number looks a little bit better when we look at non-executive directors that are leading boards. Of the non-executive directors, 29% are women. So it looks better when we're looking at non-executive directors. But those stats, let's just get them out of the way. Those stats are why we got into the room this morning. But what I want you to start to question is, I mean, if we look at International Women's Day, the hashtag that's been just been driven and really encouraged is choose to challenge. So hashtag choose to challenge. And in today's session, I want you to choose to challenge one aspect of your life that you might not be pushing as hard in, that you might not be driving with as much impact and creativity and force and courage that you really should be, in order that you may contribute to shifting a stat that may be holding you back in your life. So maybe this 29% for you is that you've been playing at 29% of your potential. What is it? What area of your life are you wanting to really shift gears in, to really pick up the pace in? Because when you are functioning at 100%, when you're giving it your all, when you are taking out of life all of the value and contributing back to life, all of the value that you are capable of, that is the only time that we start to shift the balance outside of our own circle. So all change starts with us. So today, I want you to choose to challenge what it is, what aspect of your life can you choose to challenge so that you are playing the game at a higher level, that you're playing it faster, that you're playing it a whole bunch more effectively, that you're chasing goals and dreams much bigger than you might have been chasing up until this point. And in order to do that, I'm going to take you on a journey. I'm going to take you on my career journey and how I entered the workforce and how I ended up becoming a director in a Big Four audit firm, and then transitioning to what I am doing today, and how there were 8 lessons in particular that got me from leaving university, entering the workforce, and then creating a career path in front of me. And the topic for today's session was the top 5 success tips. I'm giving you 8. I'm saying 8 lessons that you can take and apply in your own life to really shift gears and to take you from where you're at right now, point A, to where it is you should be going. Not where it is you're going, where it is you should be going. Because I'm pretty certain that just like you, just like me, if you sit down and really just pen out where your life is taking you and pen out where you should be taking your life, you're going to find that the path might look a little bit different for most of us in any case. And if you're on top of it, then beautiful, well done, excellent. You can pop your tips into the chat box as we're going through today's session. But if you're not, then choose to challenge yourself and choose to challenge your own journey. So let's dive right in. Let's go straight into lesson number 1. But before I do, I mean, I always just assume that I'm diving into these sessions and I'm talking to people that I've talked to so many times before. And yes, I know there are many of you on the session this morning that we've engaged on webinars time and time again. So you know me and I know you. But for those of you who haven't met me as yet, I'm USHA MAHARAJ. I'm a chartered accountant by profession. And I qualified as a chartered accountant in a Big Four audit firm, where I went on to become a director. And I left that audit firm to set up my own business. And now I'm an executive and leadership development coach and mentor. And I do training and facilitation for companies, and training and facilitation and coaching and mentoring for individuals who really want to take their career success journeys to new heights, but who want to match that with equal levels of happiness and balance in their lives too. So that in a nutshell is who I am. And today I'm going to share with you the 8 lessons that took me from going from a graduate in university all the way to director in a Big Four audit firm, and then pass that into what I am doing today. So lesson number 1, we're going to dive right in, and we're going to take this at pace. As we're going through, if you've got a question, pop it into the chat box. If you've got an aha moment or an insight that you'd like to share with anybody else, pop that into the chat box as well. Lesson number 1, doing it on your own is tough. I went to university and I was the first child in my family to make it to university. I was also the first in my wider family. So when I looked at my immediate family, my cousins and my relatives, I was the first one to go into university. So this was a brand new experience for us. And going into university is unlike school in so many different respects. So I was excelling in school, and then I went into university, and I didn't have around me mentors and family members who knew the challenges that I would be facing in university. And there are many challenges that you face in university. And I got through my degree just fine. But when I hit my honors year, I was distracted. I lost focus. I didn't know how to just keep my attention in the book, so that I went from entering honors and then passing honors at the end of the year. And I ended up failing in my honors year. So that came as, quite a devastating blow to me, especially since I didn't come from a family of huge means. So we couldn't just afford to stay at university and repeat honors. I was studying with student loans, and if I had to do that, then I would have to take another year of student loans, and it just becomes impossible to repay thereafter. I was fortunate to have been offered a training contract with my firm of choice. I really was lucky that I hadn't passed honors, but they still managed to accept me into the firm to start my training contract. So lesson number one for me was doing it on your own is tough. There are times in life when we start to pursue something that we've never done before, that is just, it's venturing into a whole new world. And for you, that might be a project that you're working on at work. It might have been through COVID-19, really figuring out how to work remotely, how to manage and lead your teams remotely, how to manage all of the responsibilities that you had now brought upon yourself during this COVID-19 pandemic. It could be a promotion into a new role. It could be changing jobs, changing industries, changing sectors. But anytime we venture into something completely unknown, it becomes incredibly difficult if we think that we're doing it on our own. And way back then, we didn't have access to what we have access to today. So the tip for you stemming from this lesson is, you might believe that you're alone doing something that you've never done before. And it might be scary and it might be challenging. And you might find that you're really not doing as well in it as you possibly could, but you're never, ever alone, because through technology, we've got access to networks and groups and trainers and mentors and coaches and teachers and authors and you name it, that we've got access to, that we can access absolutely at no cost, but that allows us to then just refocus and to gain value from someone who might have walked that path before us, that can make it less tough and less difficult and less challenging. So my first lesson was doing it on your own is tough. It was a painful, costly lesson, but I learned it and moved on. And fortunately, like I said, I had now started articles, and I was repeating my honors year while doing my first year of articles. And that brought me into lesson number two. And lesson number two is success inspires success. I was surrounded by fellow colleagues who had already qualified as chartered accountants, who had passed both parts of board and were now completing their training contracts, or who had moved on to become managers and senior managers, or who were completing articles and then moving out into industry. So I was every side that I turned, I was surrounded by success. And now, having moved from university, where I had been surrounded by distractions and opportunities to do something that I wasn't meant to be doing at that point in time, but now I was surrounded by all of these individuals that were high performing, that were really moving their careers forward, that wouldn't take failure as something that they would take lightly. They would overcome it and then move forward. And being surrounded by success helped to lift me up and really helped to refocus me. And so in that first year, I was a high performer from my work perspective. I gave it my all. I got a really good ratings. Everything that I needed to do and learn, I learned and I did. And on the side, I managed to pass my honors. So I studied, I really just put my head down and got through it. And we've got to constantly be looking around us, because the community that we're surrounded by, the people that are influencing us, the people that we're talking to, are the people that are going to determine the level that we're going to chase in our lives. So the tip for you out of my second lesson, and that lesson was success inspires success, is always surround yourself with inspiring people that are going to lift you up and encourage you to do more and keep you motivated and on track and on your pathway to achieve whatever it is that you're wanting to achieve in life. And then I went into lesson number 3. So now I'd passed my honors and I was on track in my articles, and went on to complete both parts of my board exams and qualify as a chartered accountant. And then I stayed on at the firm to become a supervisor, and then I got promoted to a manager. And that's when I stepped into lesson number 3. And lesson number 3 for me was distractions by the present keep you from your future. I was so caught up in what I was doing, in the busyness of my life, in the progress that I was achieving, because I was being promoted, I was getting salary increases, I really was enjoying my career and the pace at which it was moving. But I hadn't stopped and paused and reflected on the journey that I was, until one day I was sitting in a performance meeting with my senior manager. And he says, "Usha, you're doing really well." Now, you know what management meetings normally look like. They look like how you're doing in terms of your recovery percentages, your client billings, the new clients that you're bringing into the firm. So they look at stats like that. But in this meeting, we did something very different. So we got all of the stats out of the way. And then he asked me a really important question. And he asked me, he says, "Usha, you're doing really well in your career, but what exactly do you want to get out of the firm?" And until that point, I hadn't realized that the firm was getting a lot out of me. I mean, I was giving it my all. I was doing everything I needed to do it from a career perspective, delivering high performance results. But I hadn't paused and asked myself, what is it that I wanted to get out of the firm? Where is it that I was taking my career? Up until that point, I was in the rapids. I mean, we were moving really quickly, just like careers do. High performance careers move really quickly. And I had gotten caught up in that flow, and I was just going with the flow. I hadn't paused to ask myself, exactly what do you want to get out of this career, until that question was posed to me. And you're lucky if in your life you have someone asking you that question, forcing you to stop and pause and reflect on where it is you're taking your career and where it is your journey is going to take you. So I was going with the flow, and it was the distractions of the busyness that had kept me moving at pace and had stopped me from stopping and reflecting on my future. And the last time that I had done that was when I was a teenager. And when I was a teenager, I knew with certainty that I wanted to become a chartered accountant. I wanted to make my own money. I wanted to meet and marry the man of my dreams. I wanted to have 2 children, a boy and then a girl. And I wanted to retire at age 40. Now, can you think back to when you were a teenager and you thought of the age 40? I mean, I talk to my teenagers now, and when they talk about the age 40, it's really, really old. So for me, when I was a teenager, I was going to retire at age 40 because that was really, really old. And I'd already qualified as a chartered accountant. I was earning an income. And by this point, I had met and married the man of my dreams. And I had 2 children, a boy and a girl, in that order. That was just luck, I know. But that was the last time that I had thought about my future, until I was asked this question. And so at that point in time, I made the decision. And I made the decision to say, yes, I'm staying in the firm because I want to. I don't want to go out into industry. I don't think that would be a good fit for me. This is where I want to be. But I'm staying in the firm, and I will become a director. And at that point, I made the decision. So now I knew with conviction what it is I wanted to do. I'd made the decision, and this is where I was going. So I'd stopped. I got myself out of the busyness of and the distractions of the present, and I had now decided where it is I was taking my future from a career perspective, and that really got me going forward. So you've got to stop and ask yourself, right now, are you merely going with the flow? Are you just are the wheels just turning and you're just going on the ride because the ride is really good? And at times the ride is really good. I mean, I was on a really good ride, but even when the ride is really good, we've got to stop and we've got to ask ourselves, is that the direction we want to be taking our lives in? And often when we're distracted by what's going on around us, we forget to ask ourselves that important question. And so that was my lesson number 3. And it took me straight into lesson number 4, because once I'd made the decision, I started to move. I started to take action. I started to really do things differently, because now I had an end goal in sight. I knew exactly what it is I was chasing. Lesson number 4 came and smacked me right in the face. And that lesson was, everything comes at a price. Everything comes at a price. No matter what we want to get in life, know that there's a price that we will be paying. So everything in our lives are going to come at a price. And for me, the chase that I was in, really putting my head down and moving forward at pace towards this goal of becoming a director, came at a massive price. In that period, I'd had my 2 children, so the boy and the girl, and life was really busy because I was chasing this massive career goal. The price for me was that I couldn't be the mom that I saw other moms being to their children. I wasn't available to arrange all of the parties and to do the things that other moms were doing for their children. And I started to feel really guilty. And when I was in the workplace, I started to compare myself to other colleagues. And in the workplace back then, my colleagues were largely male. There were very few women that were in leadership positions. So I started to compare myself to colleagues, and I started to feel guilty about the days, the afternoons that I did need to go off and attend to something for my children. And I started to feel that sort of pressure from the workspace. Now, nobody made me feel this guilt. That was entirely all on me. It came from the stories that I was creating in my own mind around what the ideal mom should be doing for their children. And then in the workplace, what the perfect employee should be doing and how the perfect employee should be delivering in the workplace. And so the price that I paid was that I call the price my missing years. The missing years, because in those years, I got so caught up in the chase, so caught up in the rat race, that I never paused and reflected on what was going on in my life around me. I took care of my family because that was a priority for me. So I made sure that everything I needed to do for my family was taken care of. And that involved planning and coordinating and placing orders and buying things and doing all of those things that needed to happen in order for the family to run the way the family needed to run. And then I invested completely, wholeheartedly in my career. And the price that I paid was that I had, that's all I remember from that period in my life, was work, and then really just the tension and stress around making sure that family ran the way family should. That all of the notions that I had in my own mind were being delivered and created around me. So what is the price that you are paying in your life right now for something that you might be actively chasing? And yes, we should be chasing goals. Yes, we should be giving it our all. And we should really be driving ourselves to achieve our next in our lives. But always stop and pause and reflect and ask yourself if the price that you're paying right now is the price that you should be paying. Now, if I had stopped, I don't think that it would have impacted the fact that I was going to become a director. I would have still achieved it. But all it would have done is it would have allowed me to just refocus my life. It would have allowed me to be kinder to myself. It would have allowed me to really not put my own health at risk, because the price that I paid was the missing years. But it also led to me losing from a health perspective. So the stress caused me to have a bout of vertigo. The stress and the pressure and the really just pushing myself to levels that were not necessary caused me to have a slip disc and then another slip disc. And each time it meant taking time off work. And if you're that high performer and if you're the one who's really just keeping all of the balls in the air and you're making sure that everything works perfectly, taking time off work is just an absolute no-no. So further putting myself at risk, further putting pressure and stress on me that was not necessary, I would be lying in bed with all of my painkillers and my laptop would be on my tummy, making sure that I'm still answering emails and I'm still available and I'm doing all of the things and being the puppet master that I thought I needed to be at that time. So that everything from the race that I was on, that I had created for myself, came at a price. And now I sit back and I wonder, was that the right price to have paid for the success story that followed? We are whole beings, and we need we need balance in our lives. So that took me straight into lesson number 5, is realizing that this life that I was now building, it revolved around my career and revolved around my family, and nothing else was being taken care of. There was no room for rest and relaxation. There was no room for looking at wealth creation. There was no room for just developing myself as a human being that would create balance and happiness and joy in my life. So lesson number 5 for me was, we are whole beings who need balance in our lives. The stress and the guilt and the pressure, all self-imposed, that I was now leading my life with, really took me to a point where I almost felt like I was broken, and led me to a point where, this inner voice, we've all got the inner voice, and at times we're so busy, and when you're in that rat race, you're running on the wheel, and the wheel is making the sound, and the sound of the wheel is all you can hear, and the poor little voice in your head is completely drowned out. But as I was getting closer to my 40s, they say life begins at 40. So as I was approaching my 40s, I started to ask myself, is this really what life is all about? Is this it? It's work and then home and stress and pressure. Is this what I signed up for? Is this really what I want with my life? And when I started to ask myself those questions, my inner voice started to become a little louder. My inner voice started to say, no, you've got to be searching for something great in your life. You're meant for more. You need to be chasing a purpose that didn't just revolve around the 2 things that mattered most to you right now. You need to widen it. You need to really look at how you're going to create bigger impact with this life that you've been given on this earth. And when that inner voice starts to speak louder is when you're starting to hear it. It's always been there, but we tend to drown it out by everything that we've got going on around us. And that is why, if you look at the way that meditation and yoga and mindfulness practices are being encouraged and really being promoted and being taken up, it's because it gives us that time. It creates moments in our lives where we just switch off from the rat race, we switch off from the busyness, and then we're able to hear the voice that's on the inside, the voice that really is looking out for our best interests, that want us to take our lives in the directions that our lives were meant to be going. And that took me to lesson number 6. I started to hear my inner voice. And they say when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And boy, did the teachers appear. So I used to live in Pietermaritzburg and work in Durban. And Durban is an hour's drive away from Pietermaritzburg. So every day I would be in my car, driving to work in the morning and then driving back home in the afternoons. And that allowed me at least 2 hours of listening time. And when the teacher appeared, it was in exclusive books at the pavilion. I used to regularly stop off and do a bout of shopping. And when my inner voice started to talk to me, I found that I got nudged to enter exclusive books, and I got nudged to the audio book section. And this audio was waiting for me. It's Wayne Dyer and Deepak Chopra, How to Get What You Really Want. That's 4 reallys. That was the first teachers that had entered my life. And I listened to them in my car every day, going to work, coming back home, going to work, coming back home. And when you're listening to something motivational and aspirational, and you've got incredible people putting questions in your mind, your inner voice starts to speak even louder. Your inner voice starts to get charged up, and you start to get that drive to just really widen your life and to chase something a whole bunch bigger. And so as the questions were coming up in my mind, I got drawn to other audiobooks and books and lessons. And back then, it wasn't like I had Spotify on call and Audible on tap like we have today. So that's why I'm showing you audiobooks. These are the ones, the first in my collection. There were many thereafter. So the next was No Excuses by Brian Tracy. Now, what is it that we find ourselves doing all of the time? We start to think ourselves into something new. We start to say, I need to do this. This is where I want to go. I'm dreaming about this and I want to create it in my life. And as soon as we start to venture down that path, as soon as we take that turn, we start to make excuses. And excuses are really, it's our inner voice again. It's our inner voice trying to protect us from getting hurt. It's our inner voice trying to protect us from trying something new and maybe not succeeding. So it's the inner voice that starts to chirp up and to say, no, you can't do that. You don't know how to do that. You've got no experience in that direction. So really, the inner voice was talking too much. So then I got attracted to this. It was Excuses Be Gone by Dr. Wayne Dyer. You see, excuses really pop up in our lives when we're wanting to do something new, or we're wanting to challenge ourselves, and we're wanting to really drive new direction in our life. But we can change the words of our inner voice. And the way we change those words is by listening to our teachers. And for me, these are the teachers that showed up in my life. There were many books that I started to read. And as we fill our minds with a new dialogue, with new context, with new reference, with new examples and experiences of others who have done it, our inner voice starts to change its dialogue as well and starts to speak to us differently, allowing us then to journey in the directions that we really wanting to journey in. So another one that I love is The Science of Personal Achievement by Napoleon Hill. Absolutely love him. So Napoleon Hill is from a century ago, but his words are incredibly powerful. His voice is just totally motivational. So I would pump it up in my car on the way to work and back again. And those are the words, those are the voices that I started to have in my head over and over again. So this is lesson number 6. When the student is ready, the teacher will appear. We need to start asking ourselves questions, because when we start to ask ourselves questions, different to the ones that you're asking yourself right now, when we start to ask ourselves those questions and delve deeper within, you're going to find yourself drawn to teachers and lessons and people that are going to help you to then move in a different direction. And those people are all around us. They could be colleagues at work, they could be friends, they could be mentors, coaches, peers, they could be authors that you follow, they could be YouTube influencers or social media influencers. They are all around us. But attracting yourself to the right teachers comes from asking yourself the right questions. So start to question where you're going and how you're going to get there. And by questioning, I got drawn to this man as well. So Robin Sharma, he was in Durban. This is way back in 2013. He was running a live summit in Durban that I had attended. And really, I think when the student is ready, the teacher will appear and the teacher will nudge you to shift gears in your life. I attended his summit, and I think it was 6 or 7 months later that I handed in my resignation. I decided that I'm going on a new path, a new journey, and I'm ready for whatever life has ahead of me. So when you're ready, your teacher will appear, but it is, what are you doing with the lessons that you're learning that makes the most difference in your life? What actions are you taking? What decisions are you taking? How are you moving forward with the voices that are now showing up in your own mind? And that took me to lesson number 7. And lesson number 7 was know yourself. It was a journey of self-awareness. I dove into, now I don't know about you, but for me and for many people out there, in fact, most people, we're raised in a world where we're heavily influenced by outside factors. We're heavily influenced by what society expects of us, by what our bosses and colleagues and companies expect of us, by what our families expect of us, that we start to build this cocoon around us, this shell, or layers and layers and layers that we're just building around us of expectations and hopes and dreams and aspirations and voices and beliefs and behaviors of the world around us, but not necessarily of ourselves. And so my lesson number 7 was, in order to really know where you want to go in life, you need to really know yourself. And I started to peel away those layers and really delve into who I am and what is it that I truly wanted to do with my life. And I went on a self-awareness journey, an in-depth self-awareness journey where I worked with some of the most incredible coaches and mentors and really just afforded myself that opportunity to do a deep dive. And in doing that deep dive and learning about who I am and what it is I wanted to do with my life and the contribution that I wanted to make is what led me to doing what I am doing today. And led me to lesson number 8. Lesson number 8 is grow yourself and then grow others. if you are going through a single day without having learned something new, then you are not growing yourself. You're not investing in yourself. You've got to be challenging yourself every single day. You've got to be learning yourself. Our brains, the human minds, has got the capacity to grow and stretch beyond measure. There's no stopping to how far we can grow and stretch our minds, and how far we can grow and stretch ourselves from a personal development perspective. So every single day, lesson number 8 is grow yourself. Grow yourself, invest in yourself, really just stretch yourself to new heights. Being in this room today, you are growing yourself. You're creating new perspective, new context. You're choosing to challenge yourself, I hope. So you're just growing yourself. Do this every single day in some way or the other. And we've got access to just incredible resources. It's what are you listening to on your phone when you've got Spotify or iTunes or Audible playing on your phone, or you're on YouTube. What is it that you're watching on YouTube? Just make sure that what you're reading, who you're talking to, what you're listening to is contributing to your own personal development and growth. And then make it a habit to, when you learn something, to try and impart it on somebody else, to share a nugget with somebody else, to just help someone grow as well, because life is really so short. And in creating impact and influence and value, growing yourself is just part of it, but really imparting that and growing others and taking others on that journey is another massive part of it. So those are the 8 lessons that took me from a graduate who just failed her honors year to becoming a director in a Big 4 audit firm, and then to stepping out and doing what it is I do today, which is really just developing, growing, and helping others who are on a success, happiness, and balance journey, because that's what I think is most important for ourselves and for our lives, to just get us to achieve our greatest potential. So what were those 8 lessons again? Those 8 lessons were: doing it on your own is tough. If you're feeling like you're really challenged and stretched right now, you don't need to be doing it on your own. Find yourself a support network in order to not feel so lonely and to get it done. Lesson number 2, success inspires success. Look around you. Who do you have in your circle? Who is influencing you right now? Are they influencing you to raise yourself, raise your standards, step up to a new height? Or are they influencing you to just bring yourself down? Look at your networks and make sure that you're always elevating yourself by the people that you're associating with. Lesson number 3, distractions by the present keep us from our futures. Do not allow the rat race that you're in right now, the busyness of your life right now, to stop you from pausing and reflecting on where it is you really, truly want to go, and then pathing yourself a way to get from where you're at right now to where it is you really, 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 really want to go. Lesson number 4, everything comes at a price. That's a law. Nothing comes for free in our lives. We've got to give it our time, our resources, our energy. We're going to be paying in one way or the other. Know that we're paying a price, but ask yourself, is the price that I'm paying for this right now the price that I really want to be paying? How can I negotiate different terms for this right now? And you often can. It's just that we don't stop and ask ourselves that question. Lesson number 5, we are whole beings who need balance. When you're out of balance, you're going to find that things just don't feel right in your life. You're going to feel vacant. You're going to feel like you need to be doing something else. You just don't know what. You're going to feel confused. You're going to hear voices in your head, and hopefully you start to hear those voices a little bit louder, because they're going to direct you to your next step. You're going to force yourself to ask yourself questions about where it is you should be going, what it is you should be doing, and how it is you're going to get there. And that's where lesson number 6 kicks in. Because when you ask yourself powerful questions, the teachers are going to appear. People that can help you to move from point A to point B are going to appear in your life. Engage with them, learn from them, and really utilize the knowledge that's available out there to shift gears in your own life. Lesson number 7, know yourself. Self-awareness is worth gold. Every single day, invest in learning a little bit more about yourself and in peeling away the fake layers that might have been imposed on you. They get imposed on all of us. You are not alone. Peel away those layers, find who you truly are, and then live in your skin. Be proud to be out there and be who you truly, really are. And lesson number 8 is grow yourself. and others. So constantly invest in developing yourself. It is the greatest investment you could ever make in yourself, is to really then just empower yourself to think differently, to be different. And the way to do that is to just keep learning, keep acquiring knowledge, and then utilizing that knowledge to help others as well. You know what? Life is short. We're all in this hourglass together. We're all on this journey together. Life is short. Before the sand runs out, you know how days of our lives like sand through the hourglass. If you're from my generation, you heard that every afternoon. So are the days of our lives. Exactly true. Make the most of every grain of sand that's falling through your hourglass, because your life is short. Create a life that you absolutely love, a life of impact, a life of influence, a life that you're going to look back on one day when you're rocking on that chair in your porch, thinking about where it is you've come from, what it is you've achieved. You're going to be so proud of all that you've done. But in order to get to that point in the future, you need to be investing in yourself right now in the present, because your dreams matter. So dream big. If I hadn't dreamt about becoming a chartered accountant, making my own money, meeting and marrying the man of my dreams, having 2 children, and then retiring at age 40, did I tell you? I did. Before I got to age 40, I resigned from my corporate career. And for me, that was retiring. So if we're not dreaming big, crazy dreams, then there's nothing to motivate us to move forward. If I didn't dream about becoming a director in a Big 4 audit firm, I would not have driven myself to become a director in a Big 4 audit firm. I would have just gone with the flow and done what I needed to do. I would never have pushed so hard to have achieved that hurdle in my life. So we've got to dream big, and make those dreams motivate and inspire you to achieve new heights in your life. But while you're doing that, remember to put yourself first. This is what we need to be creating in our lives, this Zen happy space where we're chasing success, we're pushing ourselves to our limits, but we're doing that in a balanced state. We're doing that from a state of happiness and joy and pleasure, and making sure that all the things that we want to be achieving in our lives, we're working toward at the same time. So we're not forgetting one thing and paying a price that we shouldn't be paying at any point in time. And that is what I want to leave you with today. Life is short. Make the absolute most of your life so that you're able to get out of it everything that you're wanting to get out of it, and that you're not living your life at 29%, that you're actually pushing yourself to 100% and even beyond. Because when we go beyond, we're achieving things we never even dreamt possible for ourselves. So I want you to aim high. I want you to shatter anything that you might be, any beliefs, any limitations that you might feel are holding you back, because they're really not. And when you go through these 8 lessons, you're going to find ways to overcome them and move yourself and push yourself forward. Now, on that note, I'm going to head into the comments box. If you have a question or a comment, now's the time to pop it into the comments box. I'm going to run through any comments that you might have left here in the comments box. And then before we close out today's session, I want to share with you really quickly, and it's only for those who are interested, an opportunity to work with me on a monthly basis from a mentorship perspective, so that I can help to redirect, refocus you, and really get you charged up and moving in the direction that you should be moving in your life. But that's only for a handful of you, and I'll tell you when I'm going to tell you about that. But for now, let's just look at this. Audrey saying, can someone list the points, please? Audrey, you know what I'm going to do for you? I'm going to send an email out with a replay link, and I will list the 8 points on that email just for you, Audrey, and everybody else can get it as well. Nuha says, you're amazing. Thank you. Nuha, you're amazing. Thank you. Bright says, external forces. Sorry, Nadia. Oh, I should be reading from the bottom up so I can understand what that is. Okay, so we've got Kiasha. Choose to challenge unfair discrimination in the workplace. Absolutely, Kiasha. When we choose to challenge something is the only time we can change it. That's beautiful. Karen, okay, wait, let's just keep going here. Aarti, can we get this webinar after this, or is it just live? Aarti, I'm going to send out a replay link after today's session. And I'm going to keep reading. Justine, at some point, you have to decide if you want to live a life by design or a life by default. Love these lessons. Justine, those are beautiful Beautiful words. A life by design or life by default. And what happens to most of us is we go into the motions and we're actually just living by default. We're not living by design. When we're living by design, we're taking control and we're taking charge of where it is we're going. And we're really just shifting gears in order to get us there. We've got, now I know I'm going to say this name wrong, and I'm going to try. Charmaine, I'm going to say it's Charmaine, but it's spelled so interestingly. Thank you for sharing this, such wisdom. May you please share the recording. I sure will. Nadia, my job contributed to my marriage falling apart as my life is consumed by my job. That is the price I paid, which was not worth it. Nadia, absolutely. We are all paying a price. We've got to stop and ask ourselves, is the price I'm paying right now worth it? If we stop early enough, we can actually change the price we're paying. We always think, or often think, that this is it. This is all we can do. There's nothing we can do to change things. But when we stop and we reflect and we look for help and we start to ask the right questions, actually, maybe we can change the direction that things are going in. Thank you for sharing that. We've got, I need to take a deep dive. USHA, I need to take a self-awareness journey, and I need to find my purpose. You know what? When we start to really deep dive, we get connected with thoughts in our own minds that we didn't even know were there. They're buried so deep down. So it's really it's wonderful to take that deep dive and you start to be impressed at who you are as a person. It really is a wonderful journey to be going on. So I'm encouraging you to really embark on that. Cheyenne says, you have such a beautiful soul, Usha. That is so sweet. Thank you so much, Cheyenne. Bright's giving Nadia some advice here. So that's beautiful, Bright. Thank you. It starts with having a strong internal locus of control and belief that your destiny is in your own hands, not some external force. 100%. Meditate regularly to wake up your spirit and generate energy to focus and work hard. Believe that you were created for wow outcomes. Hence, you need to go up further. Nothing stops you from being who you should be, a champion. Good luck. Bright, I think you're a champion because that is phenomenal advice. Thank you for sharing it. Justine is saying, read Robin Sharma's 5 a.m. Club. Absolutely. Anything that we're reading and anything that's contributing to shifting our mindset, shifting our actions, our decisions is phenomenal. And Robin Sharma's anything, 5 a.m. Club or any of his other books are just great starting point. Okay, Audrey, I've answered you. Roxanne says, so inspiring, Usha. I need your courage. Roxanne, you have so much of courage. I know you personally, so I know you've got tons and tons in there. You're an impressive woman, Roxanne. Barbara, I would like to have the list once again. Barbara, you sure will. I will send that out on email. Maria, thanks for sharing. Usha, you are a wonderful woman. Maria, you are a wonderful woman as well. Thank you so much. Tom, it's been forever. Good to see you here today, Tom. Thanks again, Usha. You're such a superstar and a champion, not just for women, but for all of us need to hear this. Absolutely. Tom, I'm here for anyone who needs me. Bronwyn, thank you, Usha, for sharing your knowledge. Great to be part of your community. Bronwyn, I love that you're a part of my community. Thank you. Noxie. Usha, do you believe that it is the push that we make towards our dreams only, or do you believe that your success is also greatly dependent on enablers or affirmers? The corporate can be harsh environment where those in power can do whatever they want with that power. Noxie, the corporate world can be harsh. It can certainly be harsh, and it can be ruthless, and it can be tough, and it can be challenging. I do believe that what we create in ourselves, and when we talk of enablers are it's your success community, it's your mindset, it's the daily discipline of developing yourself. It's what is it that you're learning. If you want to succeed in an area, are you technically strong in that area? Are you pushing yourself to stay up to date? Are you pushing yourself to really be at the top of your game from a technical perspective? Then are you pushing yourself from a leadership perspective, from a management perspective, from an emotional intelligence perspective in terms of how you're engaging with others, how you're communicating, how you're driving others through your own words? Because all of these together, and many, many more, all of it together is a package deal. It's what allows us to really get the most in our careers, and it allows us to engage in the workplace in a manner that's going to get us the best results that we want for ourselves. So Noxie, I think there are a whole bunch of factors that are involved, but it all starts with you. Michelle says, so I am a civil engineer, but due to my gender and economical state of our country, I'm in a general job that is degrading. I don't know how to keep positive and break through the stuck feeling I'm in. Michelle, I think that now more than ever before, there are many people that are feeling exactly the way you're feeling. We've been forced to do things that we wouldn't have done in the past. We've been forced to think in ways that we haven't thought in the past. We've been forced to address challenges that we've never faced before. But like you're saying here, I don't know how to keep positive and break through the stuck feeling I'm in. It's getting unstuck that is most important. For me, getting unstuck was, I really did, at that point in my career where I was having slip discs and vertigo attacks, I was feeling shackled. If I had to describe it at that point in time, the only description I had was I'm feeling shackled. Even though I was doing everything I wanted in my career, I was going in the direction I thought I wanted to be going in. So the career was there and it was running at a high pace, but I had neglected a lot of my normal life, my whole life, my balanced life, that had caused me to start to feel shackled and stuck. And what got me out of it was really devoting hours every single day to fill my mind and to really feed myself with positivity. So all of those audiobooks that I told you about, it's the books that I was reading, I really just completely brainwashed myself into a very different state of thinking and feeling. Because when we're feeling positive and we're thinking positive, it's the only time we can attract good solutions in our lives. So look at the community you're engaging with. Look at the people around you. Look at what you're listening to, what you're reading, what you're constantly feeding yourself with. That's going to overpower the negative experiences you might be having in the workplace right now, and will get you ready to move in a different direction, or will get you ready for the opportunities that could be coming your way. So Michelle, that's where I would start right now, is to really just push yourself to shift the balance in your own mind from just feeling negative and stuck, and as if everything that's imposed upon you in this world is all that you have to look forward to really having a positive mindset and putting yourself back into the seat of power. Kiasha says, thank you for the beautiful session. Usha, please share the link to your session so that I can promote on my LinkedIn page. Kiasha, thank you so much. Love that you will promote on your LinkedIn page. And please do connect with me on LinkedIn if you haven't already. And I will definitely be sharing a lot on LinkedIn as well. Lungile, hi Usha, thanks for the insightful discussion. I have another webinar shortly, so I won't be staying for the introduction on the monthly mentorship. No problem, Lungile. Enjoy your next session. Inga, love the lessons. Thank you, Usha. Absolute pleasure. Wellington, someone not able to access it when shared. Any explanation? Wellington, I'm not sure what you're telling me there or what you're asking me there. If you want to pop another comment in, I will answer you. Carmen, what an inspiration. Thank you for sharing, Carmen. Thank you so much. Jyoti, thank you, Usha. Your motivation encourages me forward every day to meet my goals. Jyoti, you have big goals, and I'm looking forward to seeing you achieving them. Hela, thank you, Usha, for sharing your wisdom, and your inspirations are so valuable and encouraging. Love it. Hela, thank you so much. Monique, inspiring as always. Thank you, Usha. Thank you, Monique. Okay, so I'm going to, there we go. Hi, Usha. I'm a recent Master's Electrical Engineering graduate and now looking for work. Any advice for a woman of color about to venture into the work environment and a male-dominated field? So if you're entering the workspace or you're looking to find employment, the work environment is really challenging right now. The employment prospects are challenging, they're daunting. But what I would encourage you to do, and I don't know if I'm saying your name correctly, it's Macklin, I think. What I would ask you to do is to make sure that you're showing up on social media like you want a recruiter and a potential employer to see you. So make sure that you're demonstrating your skills, your positivity, your knowledge. Make sure that your LinkedIn CV is tops, that in your LinkedIn CV, you can see exactly who you are and what value you'll be bringing to the table. And then make sure that you're engaging with recruiters out there and the companies directly that you want to be seeing you, that you want to become visible to. So make sure that you're doing all of that so that you're out there and you're exposing yourself to any opportunities that might be available. And then prepare yourself for the interviews. A lot of the times we don't prepare ourselves to go in there and really rock that interview. So you're going to put yourself out there. You're going to make sure that you do get contacted for interviews. But when you get into that interview, make sure that you are doing your absolute best. So go onto YouTube and look for interview skills. Look for skills to develop how you answer those questions. Practice them with friends and with peers and with colleagues. Just make sure that when you show up, you're showing up as best as you possibly can, and they're seeing you for the value that you can bring to the table and to create an opportunity for yourself. Tilly says, thank you. This is an eye-opener. I'm at that point where I realized that I've been putting everything else first but myself and my career. It's exhausting, more so when you give and give in the workplace and realize that you're not getting anything out. That is something that we've got to reflect on and make sure that when we're feeling that way, we're actually doing something to move ourselves forward. Okay, so Fariel, I'm glad I tuned in. Sometimes I think for looking for a job in corporate again. You just inspired me to keep working on my accounting practice and making a success of it. Finding a job when you're over 50 is not easy. Finding a job when you're over 50, finding a job at any time is possibly a little bit challenging. And definitely, I mean, corporate, I was in corporate, and let me tell you right now, I absolutely loved it. I would not swap it out for anything in my life. My corporate journey taught me things that if I hadn't learned, if I had experience, I would not be able to share. So I say you've got to grow yourself and then grow others. It was my growth journey. It was my growth experience. And if I hadn't done that, if I hadn't gone through it, if I hadn't walked the walk and experienced that path, I would never be able to do what I am doing today at the level that I do it. So definitely nothing against corporate. I think my corporate career was the best thing I ever had. And in fact, I want you, if you're in corporate, to shine in your corporate careers. But I want to teach you the lessons that I learned along the way so that you're not making the mistakes that I made. And I think it just makes life easier when somebody shines a light on some of the potential barriers and challenges that we could be experiencing, and then helps us to overcome it as easily as possible. So on that note, I want to say thank you to all of you for joining me here today. I absolutely love being able to share with you. And I hope that you are choosing to challenge at least one aspect in your life, at least one area that you find is not at the level that you want it to be, and then you're taking action to get yourself out of it. So thank you for joining me this morning. Before I go, and for anyone who's interested in finding out more, you can stay for another 2 minutes, and I'll really quickly tell you about a monthly mentorship program that I've just launched this month in March. And you're welcome to join me on that monthly mentorship program. And for those of you who do not and who really would love to get back to your desks and get your day back on track again, it's been wonderful being on the session with you. Remember to connect with me on social media. I do share a lot of content on social media that could help you on your own success, happiness, and balance journeys. And engage with me, talk to me, keep the conversation going on social media. I would love to see you there. So for those of you who want to find out about the mentorship opportunity, let me tell you really quickly what it's all about. The Hello Boss Academy is a monthly mentorship program, and I've set up this academy for anybody who is wanting to really chase down success in their work lives, whether you're in a corporate workspace, whether you're running your own business, whether you're thinking of transitioning from one role into the other. But it's really for the individual who is success driven, who is ambitious, who wants to unlock the next from a career perspective. So the Hello Boss Academy is really all about shifting away from an employee mindset into a boss mindset. And a boss mindset is about owning your life. It's about taking charge of pathing your way forward. It's about creating opportunities for yourself. Now, in terms of how do we get from point A to point B from a coaching and mentorship perspective, especially in a group scenario like Hello Boss Academy, the way we do it is by focusing on those life lessons, those success principles that are going to create great impact for you, irrespective of where you're at in your corporate journey, where you're at in your small business development journey, where you're at as an entrepreneur, where you're at in your mindset or on your own personal development journey. There are principles that you will be able to take away and apply each and every month. So the way Hello Boss Academy will work is you'll have access to monthly training videos, so a coaching video where we're talking about a concept and unpacking it and making it practical to you. You will have access to workbooks and worksheets or tools that will help you to implement what you've learned. Knowledge is worth absolutely nothing without action. So in the Hello Boss Academy, we keep everything practical and simple so that you can take it away and apply it and start to see results in your life. In addition to all of this, once a month we will meet in a live Q&A setting where you can ask me anything or questions that have come through in the month around the topic that we're focusing on for that month will get answered in the live Q&A session, and we'll have opportunities to do live hot seat coaching for those who want it. In addition to that, we will create a forum or a mechanism where Hello Boss Academy members can network and get to know each other at the monthly Q&A live sessions. Now, if you can't make it to attend the live session, that's absolutely no problem. We'll have a recording that's set up and ready for you so that you can catch up and still partake in all of the knowledge that has been shared for the month. So Hello Boss Academy is a monthly mentorship program available completely online and is there for the success-driven individual who really wants access to high-quality coaching and mentorship, but who couldn't afford it up until now. The Academy is launching this March 2021 at a launch offer of just 297 rands per month. From April onward, the regular pricing on the Academy will be 497 rands per month. You can find out more at ushamaharaj.com/helloboss, or if you scroll down and have a look, you'll have a link that's going to take you straight to Hello Boss Academy. I hope to see you on the inside of Hello Boss. If you've got any questions, you know where to find me on social media. Pop me a DM and I will answer it.